Rizal first homecoming and return to Europe on 1887-1888. So, what would be the reason why Rizal plans of coming back home? So, as early as 1884, Rizal wanted to go back to the Philippines for the following reasons. So, the reason is first, financial difficulties in Calamba. Dissatisfaction with his studies in Madrid. Next, desire to prove that there is no reason to fear going home. Next, his belief that the Spanish regime will not punish the innocent. So as I have said earlier, nga nagplan si Rizal nga mobalik siya sa Philippines for the following reason. So, he decided to return home after 5 years of his memorable sojourn in Europe. So, 5 years siya sa Europe. Rizal returned to the Philippines. However, Rizal was warned by the following not to return to the Philippines. So, nagbalik siya sa Philippines pero giwarningan siya nga warned by the following not to return to the Philippines because because of his no limit tangere angered the friars. So, who's the friars that time? So, 'di ba sa grade 9 ta ginatudluan ta sa no limit tangere. So, pag grade 10 nato is the El Filibusterismo. So, as I have read the book, so ako nang nabasa ang whole book sa No Limit Tangere. It's about kanang gipakita ni Rizal nga ingani gyud, ingani ang muni gyud, ingani ang sitwasyon, but it came to anger the friars. So marag na ulit ang mga friars, no, kay murag sila ang narumbo, pero but it's real mo ginang tinuod. So who is the friars that time? It is Pasiano Mercado. So, Pasiano Mercado is Rizal's advisor and only brother. So, next, Silvestre Ubaldo, Rizal's brother-in-law, husband of Olympia. So, take note ha, kaning mga, take note this mga ngalan. Rizal's brother-in-law, husband of Olympia. So, Jose Maria Cecilio or Chingoy, one of Rizal's closest friend. Okay, next is the Calamba land problem. So, Calamba land dispute originated from a directive Governor General Emilio Terrero y Perenant. So, ordering for the investigation of states owned by Dominican friars as an effort to resolve agrarian issues and problems in collection of land taxes of tenancy upon the request of Jose Rizal. So next, we will tackle about medical practice in Calamba. So, Rizal established a medical clinic. So, Rizal is also a doctor, no? His first patient was Doña Teodora, who is his mother. So, who was almost blind. Rizal treated her eyes but could not perform any surgical operation. So, nag-establish si Rizal og medical clinic in Calamba, and his first patient is his mother, no? So karang na blind. So he was able to treat his patient and he was being paid for it. So ginabayaran gyapon siya. Okay, next is the agrarian problem in Calamba. So muna siya ang mga agrarian problem in Calamba. So first is influenced by the novel Governor General Emilio Terrero y Perenant ordered a government investigation of the Friar States to remedy whatever iniquities might have been present in connection with land taxes with tenant relation. So Governor General Emilio Terrero ordered sa government nga mag-investigar sa mga friar states o unsa may mahitabo, unsa may kinalabasan nga or remedy whatever iniquities might have been present, unsa may palabas. So nga issue, no, muna nga si General Emilio Terrero nagpa-imbestiga siya. So one of the fire states affected was the Calamba Hacienda by the Dominion Order since 1883. So next is upon hearing about the investigation, the people of Calamba asked the help from Rizal to gather facts and less the grievances so that the government might institute agrarian reform. So pagkadungog sa mga taga Calambas, karang lumulupyo diha ang lugar sa Calamba. So they ask help to Rizal to gather facts unsay kamatuoran and less the grievances so that the government might institute certain agrarian reforms. Thank you.
The Rizal smuggled the novel No Limit Tangere in the Philippines. Meet Jose Maria Basa, Rizal's wealthy friend who smuggled Noli and Philly to the Philippines. Jose Maria Basa Juan Enriquez in 1839 to 1907 was a generation ahead of national hero Jose Rizal, but the two men would be lifelong friends. Basa supplied Riego with sacks of books, which Riego smuggled to Manila on board the Don Juan hidden among his soiled shirts. Several sacks of books were distributed this way in Sampaloc and Santa Ana, while some others were given to 5 Filipino priests, listed by Rizal, Filipino students and Spanish mestizos. The rest were smuggled into the Philippines, consigned at the La Gran Bretaña Bazaar in Manila, where it was probably sold under the table. Many copies were confiscated and burned at the behest of the religious orders. A solitary student from the University of Santo Tomas was arrested with a copy in his possession. We do not know what happened to the hapless.
U.S. America. Rizal in America, 1888. According to Rizal, he visited the cities of America with their grandiose edifices, their electric lights, and their wit conceptions. America is undoubtedly a great country, but she has many defects. Rizal first saw America on April 28, 1888. His arrival in this great country was marred by racial prejudice, for he saw the discriminatory treatment of the Chinese and the Negroes by white Americans. He kept notes of what he observed during his trip from Francisco to New York, where he took a ship for England. From his notes and his letters to his friends, we get a wealth of first-hand impression of America, some which were rather unfavorable but true. Rizal was a man of truth, and he wrote what he had seen and experienced. Arrival in San Francisco, the steamer Belgic with Rizal on board, docked at San Francisco on Saturday morning, April 28, 1888. All passengers were not allowed to land. The American health authorities placed the ship under quarantine on the ground that it came from the Far East, where a cholera epidemic at that time in the Far East. He joined the other passengers in protesting the unjustifiable action of the health authorities. The American consul in Japan had given the ship a clean bill of health, and the British governor of Hong Kong certified to the absence of cholera cases in China. He soon discovered that the placing of the ship under quarantine was motivated by politics. The ship was carrying 643 Chinese coolies. At that time, public opinion of the Pacific coast was against cheap coolie labor because the coolie from China were displacing white laborers in railroad construction camps. To win the votes of the whites in California for election was near, the administration impeded the entry of Chinese colonists.
Hong Kong and Macau. After his 3-month sojourn in France, Rizal returned to Madrid and thought about publishing a book that exposed the colonial relationship of Spain and the Philippines. So Rizal, after his 3 months in sojourn, she decision that he returned to Madrid and nagpublish siya og mga books and gina-expose niya sa colonial relationship sa Philippines o sa Spain. This idea was realized in March 1887 with the publication of the novel No Limit ang Here in Germany. So, naka-idea siya ani sa March 1887. And Rizal described Macau as a small, low, and gloomy. So, gina-describe ni Rizal ang Hong Kong and Macau nga small siya, low, and gloomy. There are many junks, sampans, but few steamers. It looks sad and it almost dead-like. So, during his stay in Hong Kong, Rizal made a living by running an eye clinic on the Hong Kong island. So, si Rizal daw, nagpuyo siya dito sa, nagkapuyo lang siya sa Hong Kong Islands. He also drafted the constitution of the La Liga Filipina, the Philippine League in English, inspiring revolutionary group that would later spearhead the country's bid for independence against Spain. Next is February 16, 1888. Rizal wrote a letter to Blumentritt expressing her bitterness to his enemies for forcing him to leave the country and describing Hong Kong as a small but very clean city. So, si Rizal to is nag-force siya na lakaw siya dito nga country. And paglakaw niya, gidescribe niya ang Hong Kong na small siya but hapsay, very clean city.
Departure from Europe. Jose Rizal travels in Europe are well documented. Our national hero left the Philippines in 1882 to study medicine in Spain. During his 5 years stay in Europe, Rizal also traveled to many different places in the continent, including Paraguay, Benin, Milan, Venice, Florence, and Rome. Rizal's primary goal in living for Europe in 1882 was to complete his education. He had to completed a course in ophthalmology at the University of Santo Tomas, so he could perform eye surgery on his cataract-stricken mother. But before any secret plan could he take place, he had to go to Spain unnoticed even by his mother.
Good morning everyone. Good morning sir. My topic is Rizal as propagandist, annotation of success de las Islas Filipinos in London. Emphasize that Murgas was the evidence and primary source of history in the Philippines. Rizal argued that Filipinos before has their own culture and did not require a new religion of civilization from Spain.